So the question I want to know is what kind of illnesses, chronic stuff have you seen clear up? Low energy, pain relief, like what have you seen here? Like what can they expect to understand or possibly heal?
Yeah, so that's a great question. A little loaded, but it's a great question. And the short answer is we see everything. We see neurodivergent issues. We see anxiety. We see a lot of anxiety. We see complications. We see mystery illnesses. We see everything up to cancer and the various stages of cancer and how accelerated it has become. But a few things that I've seen, especially with anxiety, is, for one thing, whether you're aware of this or not, there is a brain balancing component that does happen in this room. So when you come in, whether you're aware of it or not, it does happen to balance the two hemispheres of your brain. So you're not, let's say, right dominant or left dominant anymore. You become equally balanced. All right. So that helps with the first step of a lot of things. But case study, we've had a lot of people coming in with anxiety, like I mentioned before, that tends to clear up usually around 10 hours to 16 hours. Depends on the person, how they're living their life. All right. And it's, again, a cumulative effect. But we've also seen the other extreme. So Dr. Singer has seen, and he's now been very vocal about it. He's now seen about 9 patients that have had stage 4 cancer that don't have cancer in the body anymore. And again, this is from Dr. Singer's side. Okay. Mm-hmm. So it works on the granular level. It works on the entire organism at the same time. So it's hard to say it's one thing or the other. A lot of times people will come in here, and I'll give you one case specifically. We had autistic kids coming in here, and their parents were sitting with them. And on 2 different occasions, one of the children were nonverbal, non-communicative, and they got up after the second session and started talking to their parents.
Whoa, so, that's awesome.
It's kind of a big deal.
I wish you would have had like video. Like,
I know.
What?
I know. This is we're working on that, by the way. So it's going to take a little while to get that testimonial. The other thing we've seen, especially with, more on a first or second visit, is we've seen some autistic children who have been in diapers for their entire lives finally being able to not wear diapers. That's a small step, but it's a major step.
That's major. That's not a small step, but it's major.
In a relatively shorter period of time. So we do see a lot of stuff. And I do mention a lot of autistic kids because, 1, there's no placebo effect with autistic kids. And 2, their parents have really been dealing with a lot. So when we can see the parents benefit from it, just from whether it's just coming in here to get 2 hours of rest and relaxation and recharge, or they see their children incrementally get better over time, it's pretty unique and profound. So and again, we've seen the other end of the spectrum too, where the cancer patients have been coming through. Often I get a lot of phone calls personally, monthly, that say, hey, listen, I canceled my surgery. My shoulder is no longer frozen. That kind of thing, which is...
I love those calls, by the way.
Yeah.
So do you have any science? Like, the world's all science-backed and things like that. Like, they want to know the science. They want to know why it works. Do you have anything that you want to put on the science of it? Like, why does this work?
So, again, keeping it really simple, as far as science, this is what I tell everybody. If you have your cell phone, let's just use a cell phone for an example, and it runs down, and we run it down to 5%, 2%, 1%, your apps aren't working properly. Maybe you're dropping calls. Maybe certain things just aren't working or connecting properly, and therefore you're very frustrated and your phone's not working properly. It's time to plug it in, right? Similarly, when you come into the room, your cells will actually be depleted. And that's really measured in millivoltage, right? So when the millivoltage of your cells is dropping to, say, 25 or 20%, that's when a lot of that serious pathology will actually set in. And not only set in, but proliferate really fast, like we have kind of been seeing, and also become an issue. And now it's not just a lifestyle issue, it's a life or death issue kind of thing. When you come into the room, just like your cell phone needing to be charged, the human body needs to be charged. Your cells will actually start gaining charge incrementally, slowly, depending on how you're living your life. But most of the time, within a relatively short span of time, you will start seeing changes happen much faster. And then as that time keeps growing, the results happen quicker and quicker and quicker. So you get to a clinical endpoint much faster. But your cells will recharge from that, say, 20 or 25% millivoltage all the way up to 70 to 80 to 90%. Once that happens, the pathology that you're experiencing will start to weed itself out.
So very similar to the way that I explain it. Like when you talked about the cell phone, I talked about computers. Now, when we're talking about cell phone drainage, we're not talking about the battery itself. We're talking about how much pressure you're putting on the cell phone. That's why I use a computer. If you're a person like that uses a computer and has multiple screens as well as multiple desktops open, your RAM, the memory, the actual programming of the computer will actually slow down.
Right.
What Shake and Shift does is starts to wipe all those things out so you're not burdened, bogged down. What you're talking about is on a cellular level of being able to reproduce and give more power to you in that way. Is that very similar?
Very, very similar, yes. 100%.
Perfect.
I mean, along the same lines, 100%.
That's why I wanted to do it here.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so is it my turn or your turn?
I think I'm up.
You're up.